Hi, I'm Kara.
And I'm Adam. Welcome to Crunchy Cozy Games. Today we are talking about, well, not games that we've played before. We're actually talking this time about board games that we haven't played.
A board game blind spot, if
Yes,
you will.
Exactly. So what we've done is we have gone to Board Game Geek and we have looked at their top 100 of all time as rated by all the users. And, you know, I was pleasantly surprised because we've played a lot of them.
We have. We've played a fairly decent number of the games on that list.
And to be fair, we like games. We play a lot of games.
In fact, we get some of our recommendations on what to purchase from that list.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it turns out we like games, but these are games that for whatever reason, we just haven't had a chance to play.
Yeah.
So today we're going to break down our top 10 games that we haven't played. And give you some reasons as to why, and then what we're hoping for is that you all might make some recommendations to us about what should be our next game or what blind spot we're really missing that we should add to our collection.
Absolutely.
But before we get too far, we have a critical announcement. If you are interested in modern or retro RPG video games, it's your turn to check out a new podcast, Turn-Based Besties. DJ and Sam are lifelong friends, as well as friends of ours, who both share a love for RPGs. Tune in for game reviews, best of lists, upcoming RPG news, or maybe you'll just enjoy hearing the two of them riff about life between games. Look for Turn-Based Besties on your favorite podcatcher, I use Spotify, and level up your podcast experience. Thanks so much, DJ and Sam. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Okay, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
So
how are we doing this? Order?
Yeah, so what I thought we would do is we'd break it down into, since it's a top 10 list, we'd reveal our
Reverse
highest
order.
ranked at the top.
As usual,
So
yep.
we're going to actually start with the lowest ranked game that we haven't played, just of the top 10. So there are some games that are ranked lower than this. But,
right, absolutely.
But, you know, if you guys enjoy this list, maybe we'll do another one talking about the rest of the games on there. But these are the highest ranked games that we haven't played, starting with the lowest ranked.
Hopefully nobody's lost at this point.
You know, I gotta admit, I don't think I have enough breadcrumbs to get home, so well, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Starting with number 10, which is ranked number 26 on Board Game Geek's list, and that is Terra Mystica.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, have you seen anything on Terra Mystica?
You know, this is one that I have seen it. Like, I've seen the Terra Mystica box at our local game store.
Right. I remember picking this one up and, like, flipping it over and bringing it to you and be like, hey, what do you think of this one?
Yeah. You know, it's one of those that I think always gets eclipsed by something else.
Sure.
Right? You know, it looks interesting, but there are other things that look more interesting. And I think that's, you know, just like visual box appeal, right? It's gets passed up for me.
New or flashy. I mean, it definitely has kind of that older aesthetic. Now, it's not an old game by any means.
Sure.
But, like, all the buildings that you get look kind of like the Catan-style buildings.
Okay.
And it's got nothing that I would say is, like, you know, no sexy components, no, like, dual-layered player boards or anything like that.
Okay.
And I think that's always been something that's kind of turned me off to it as well. But the gameplay itself, I actually find very intriguing. I mean, it's essentially an area control. You start as one of 16 factions, and you're sort of building out your habitable area. And what they always pride themselves on, I think it might be on the back of the box, is like, this is a no-luck game. Just strategy. Whoever's the smartest and the most strategic is going to win.
I think that's really interesting. Because
I don't know that I like that.
Yeah. I feel like the luck-based things, you know, whether that's a card draw or a dice roll, or, you know, whatever else, they add an interesting flavor to a game.
Right.
That also helps to, I think, balance games.
Yeah.
Because I think in something that is purely strategy, you run the risk of, like, if everybody's not playing with this, like, at the same level of familiarity with that game, somebody's just going to steamroll everybody.
For sure.
And so that would be my hesitation, I think, in unless we're picking it up at the same time, fresh.
Right.
You know,
which we would be.
Right, we would be. And so, you know, maybe this is going to be, it would be a game that we love. It's one that I would be interested in maybe playing first.
Sure.
So maybe, I don't know if our local board game cafe has it, but maybe we can play it there.
They do, but I think it's one of those games that we'd have to learn the rules first and then know that we're going to go in and play it.
Sure.
Because I think that sounds like a nightmare to try and learn at the cafe.
Absolutely, yeah. It can get a little loud.
For sure.
But yeah,
right.
what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I kind of the same mindset. Again, I think the gameplay and that element of strategy is really intriguing to me, but it's absolutely one that I would love to see more of.
Yeah.
I'm still not crazy about the look, the very muted art.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's going to be one that we talk about later in this list that people are like, oh, well, if you don't like the art, try this version. We'll get there. So, yeah, I would say it's one I'm definitely on the fence about.
Sure. Okay, moving on from Terra Mystica.
All right, so the next one, next rank up,
our number 9.
Our number 9, but ranked number 24 on the Board Game Geek list, is A Feast for Odin.
Ooh, we have talked about this one, actually.
We've talked about this one a lot.
It's kind of been on your list to watch for a while.
It has, and it's been out of print for a while.
Yeah.
So, to describe Feast for Odin, gosh, I don't know that I can, because there's a lot of different elements to it. And it's a Uwe Rosenberg game, who is just a game designer that I swear just comes up with game designs in his sleep.
Probably.
Because he's got so many. And we've got a couple. I think our favorite is probably Patchwork.
Oh, yeah, I love Patchwork.
So there's certainly an element of like tile placement, but then there's all these different areas that you can focus on. It seems really interesting, but it's also one of those games that you open the box and there's just a ton of stuff in it.
Sure. Can be a little overwhelming, maybe.
Yeah, and I think the real thing for me that's kept me from purchasing this is I heard a rumor that maybe they're making like a special edition, sort of like they did with Castles of Burgundy.
Oh, sure.
And so, like, if we're going to pick up the game, I think I'd rather wait and see if they do something like that. And see
if there's going to be a new one. Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. And, I mean, if that does happen, I would love to play it. I mean, it sounds like an excellent game.
Yeah. It seems really neat. It's definitely on our list. So if you know anything about that special edition coming, please do let us know. Okay, so let's move on.
Sure.
The next one that we're going to talk about is a caveat. We're not including it on our list because, I mean, this one we've got a valid reason for not playing, I think.
Sure.
So number 22 on Board Game Geek's list is Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated.
And we have played Clank.
I love Clank.
Yes.
It's fantastic. I'm very interested in playing Acquisitions Incorporated.
Absolutely.
However, we have a current rule in our house to not buy any more legacy games. Not because we don't love them.
Right, we really like legacy games. We just, we're still playing Gloomhaven.
Yep.
We also have Frosthaven.
And we have Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
We do.
And then we recently picked up Sleeping Gods, which I'm very excited about. But
we haven't opened it yet.
Right. And there's just only so much room for a legacy game in your collection.
Sure.
So will we get to it one day? I hope so.
Hopefully.
I'm really looking forward to it. But right now, probably not the right time.
Yeah. All right. So let's skip Clank Legacy.
Great. So our number 8, which is number 21 on Board Game Geek, is Nemesis.
Ooh, I don't actually know that I know a lot about Nemesis.
Okay, so Nemesis is basically Alien. You've not seen Alien, have you?
I have not seen Alien.
Okay, add that to the list of culture that you are missing out on.
I mean, it's just one of those that I know like the basic premise.
Yeah, there's an alien on a ship.
Yeah, and it like explodes out of the stomach, right? That's like a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. You would love Alien because it's basically just about a smart woman and none of the men listen to the smart woman. And then they all die, and she survives with her cat.
Well, that just sounds delightful.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I don't know. I don't know that it would be classified as delightful, though.
I think it's delightful.
Okay.
But anyway, Nemesis is basically that kind of concept. You're on a spaceship, you're drifting through space, and then you are bombarded by these aliens that sneak into the ship. What's cool about this is it's kind of a semi-cooperative game. Different players are controlling different characters, and they might have different objectives.
Sure.
Including where the spaceship goes and what happens, because some may not be working as a team.
Right. So definitely some competing objectives, maybe some secret traitor elements.
Right. Definitely a lot of that. Like Dead of Winter we've played, and it's kind of a similar thing to that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I will say I am very interested in this game. I have really wanted to pick it up for a while. it's expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those games that has a ton of minis in it. Which, that's neat to me.
Yeah.
But that also mixed with the theme for it, I know it doesn't really do much for you.
I am not a super big fan of heavy mini games.
Sure.
I think that they look cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a board that takes up your entire table and it's covered in like little mini, like I just don't know that it is adding a whole lot. And it, in fact, makes it more difficult to accomplish anything and move things.
What if I told you that this game was so successful that they've released more minis for it? What if I told you that some of those minis are just cats? You can replace all of the aliens with cats.
Okay, well, I might be interested in that
version. We're sold. I love it.
Anyways,
that's number 8 for us, number 21 on Board Game Geek. All right, so we have another caveat coming up here because we have not played the Board Game Geek number 20, which is Brass Lancashire? I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, but we have Brass Birmingham.
Which is Board Game Geek's number 1. We like Brass Birmingham.
We do, we like it. But it's not terribly different, right?
My understanding is Brass Lancashire is essentially the first Brass that's remade.
Sure.
So there's not different, from what I understand, there's not different resources that you're doing. So you're not doing like, iron and coal. It's just one resource. There's no beer. Sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Totally up for it. I just don't think we need to have 2 brasses.
Yeah, it's one that I would play, but I wouldn't necessarily want to buy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And who knows? Maybe we're wrong about all of these. If you've played them and we're saying things that are totally off base, they are blind spots for us.
Yeah, definitely call us out. Because, I mean, the main thing in this video is we have not played these games.
Right.
So the only thing that we're basing this on is things that we've read and seen.
Or just literally the cover, which I hear you're not supposed to judge things by.
Well, often do for board games.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one that's not on our list. The next one on our list, number 7 for us, is going to be Eclipse: Second Dawn of the Galaxy, which is number 18 on Board Game Geek.
Mm-hmm. This is one that came up in the comments of our These Games Suck video.
Yeah, everybody tells me when I say like, oh, I love Twilight Imperium, everybody tells me like, oh, you got to play Eclipse: Second Dawn. It's so much better. I mean, maybe. It seems better. There's a lot more tech tree stuff to this one.
Okay, kind of like Beyond the Sun.
Kind of like that, yeah. But, I gotta say, what I really love about Twilight Imperium is space lions. I don't see any space lions in this one. Seems like it's more grounded in reality.
Are there, like, factions like there are in Twilight Imperium? Like, are you playing? I mean...
I don't actually know. I mean, maybe. Yeah. It is definitely a game that is in that same space as, like, a Twilight Imperium.
Okay.
But it plays faster.
Oh, I mean, that's nice.
Yeah.
Twilight Imperium is a long game.
And that's what everybody says, but I actually really enjoy that it's a long game.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of, like, you're clearing off the war table.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm definitely interested in this. It's just, as far as adding it to the collection, I would have a hard time, because it's another one, price-wise, like Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
Justifying another giant space game.
Especially when, I feel like I sound like I have a lot of hate for space games whenever we do these videos.
Well, it's well established that you hate space.
I don't hate space, though. I don't dislike space games. It's just not my favorite of the themes that something could have. That doesn't mean that I really dislike it or that I never want to play a game that has a space theme. I like space games.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of them.
There is. It's a very popular theme with board games.
It is.
It's like,
which I think is really interesting.
Dragons or dungeons or, oh well. All right. So next, we have another caveat because number 16 on Board Game Geek is Great Western Trail.
And we have Great Western Trail Argentina.
We do. So they have a second edition of Great Western Trail, also on the top 100 list. Mm-hmm. I feel like, as much as I've looked through these, there's not enough different that I feel like I want this in the collection. And I'm also not going to lie, that box cover creeps me out. They've got like an uncanny valley look to the eyes. I
actually don't think I've seen the box.
No, it creeps me out, man. I do not like it.
I did see...
If we were going to play another Great Western Trail, Well, it'd be the New Zealand one.
Well,
but if
yes,
we're going to play
'cause
two other Great Western Trails, it would be the second edition.
Okay, interesting. So then what is our number 6?
Okay, our number 6 is Through the Ages, which is Board
Okay.
Game Geek's number 14.
Okay, and this, from what I understand, is a civilization building game?
Yes,
Is
that
that
you
correct?
go literally through the ages.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's really a card game that has a couple of boards to it. So
Okay.
I mean, you're literally building up your civilization. What I think is intriguing about this one is that you're trying to get culture points. So even if you chase down like military stuff, that doesn't really matter aside
Okay.
from like attacking other neighbors and stuff. But what you really want is the culture.
Sure.
What's cool about it is they have cards for every age. I mean, you have everything from like technologies like the first person to get on a horse and ride that, and boats and gunpowder. But then like in the later ages, they have cards like Bill Gates or Sid Meier, which that's a very fun one for a civilization game.
Yeah, this is one, I don't know that this really grabs me maybe as much as it grabs you.
I do love civilization games.
Yeah, and I think Through the Ages, I would maybe have to play this one.
Sure.
Before we would commit to putting it in the collection, just to see how it compares to things like Civilization.
Yeah. I have not played this game, but I have seen it played.
Sure.
And by I have seen it played, I mean I was at a place like a board game cafe where people were playing it. And when I came back later that day, they were still playing it.
Oh, so it's another really long one.
It says on the box that's 120 minutes. That does not seem to be true.
Okay. Is it like 120 minutes plus like 30 minutes per player or something like that?
I don't know. I've not looked at it that close.
Sure.
But yeah, I am very interested in it. I
Yeah.
would totally check it out.
Yeah, it's one that I would play for sure.
Okay, so we're going to go one more step up for our number 5.
Okay.
And that is Twilight Struggle, which is Board Game Geek's number 13. The theme does nothing for me.
This is the Cold War one.
This is the Cold War one. It's a 2-player game. It's very strategy based.
Sure.
I've heard from reviews and stuff that it's, because I've looked into it because we're always looking for good 2-player games.
Yeah.
That it's really about knowing the cards, and I think the theme is so dry.
Well, I think that we don't really love history games. Ones.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean more towards fantasy and space.
Yes. We at one point had a game that was based on the moon.
The space race.
The space race.
Yeah.
We had the space race at one point, and we did not end up keeping that game.
No.
Just because...
It was a bummer.
Yeah, that theme just...
Yeah, it just didn't do it for us.
Yeah, and for me, Twilight Struggle is in that same space as far as interest.
Right.
Even if the gameplay is really good, I think that the theme would detract from it enough that I would not enjoy it.
I think that's fair. I'd say the likelihood of us acquiring this game and playing it probably pretty low. I'm more likely to want to play it than I think you are. And so, I don't know. We'll see. Don't hold your breath. Okay, so our number 4 that we haven't played is number 12 on the Board Game Geek list.
Okay.
And remember when we talked about Terra Mystica and you're
Yes.
like, oh man, this game looks kind of boring. I wish it was in space. You remember when you said that?
Yep.
Good news, Kara!
They have a space version of it.
Gaia Project.
Okay.
Everything I've read on this says this is Terra Mystica, but it's got a modular board and it's in space.
Okay.
16 factions.
Okay.
You're doing kind of the same thing. You're building out your habitable planets or area. And it's, again, no luck, all strategy. Sounds cool. But this time in space.
Yeah, same comments as Terra Mystica.
But here's the thing. If both of those games are so high up, like Terra Mystica just falls out of the top 25 of all time, according to Board Game Geek, there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would be interested in playing to see how I feel about it.
Would you rather do the fantasy one or the space one?
I don't know. I'd have to see the boxes.
What if they were the same, but one was in space?
Probably the fantasy one.
Because you hate space.
I don't hate space.
Well, good news about you hating space.
Uh-huh.
Because our number 3 is Board Game Geek's number 10. And it's a space game.
Yep, sure is.
Star Wars Rebellion. I want this game real bad. You posted a thing to it when we were looking this up, and you're like, oh my god, it says there's 150 miniatures.
150 minis. Why?
And my text, I believe, was, that looks awesome.
It was. Yeah.
So yeah, this one is, I mean, you know, it's a neat kind of style. It is basically a war game where you are reliving Star Wars moments.
Yeah, and you know, from what I saw of it, it seems like, you know, you can recreate some of those moments that are so good. And I do really like Star Wars.
Sure.
You know, I love the original trilogies. We have watched all the shows.
No, we have not watched all of the shows. You're going to get people mad at us that we haven't seen, like, The Bad Batch.
Okay, we've watched
any of the Clone Wars.
Sure, we've watched the more recent shows.
Yeah.
And you know, I have mixed feelings about some of them, but overall, I do enjoy the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. We have lots of lightsabers. I actually teach lightsaber classes.
It's true.
So I'm a big Star Wars fan. This one has always been on my radar. It's just, again, one of those that's an expensive game. It takes up a lot of space. Yeah. And then there's just a lot of minis.
There are. And
we also happen to have a toddler who likes to swallow small things. So that's another thing I'm very cognizant of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Star Wars Rebellion. All right, so we're getting down to the end of the list. And I would say the next one is maybe the one we're most likely to pick up in the near future.
Yeah.
And that is The War of the Ring, 2nd edition. Number 8 on Board Game Geek. So, Kara, you are a little bit of a Lord of the Rings fan.
Just a little bit. I love Lord of the Rings. So definitely the theme of this appeals to me. When I first looked at it, you know, war games are hit or miss for me, but I think what really is interesting to me about War of the Ring is the idea of kind of the hidden movement on one side, and then the search on the other side.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've played some games like that with hidden movement in them, but usually that's the only thing that's happening. And so I'm really interested in how that hidden movement component plays with the other mechanisms that are happening.
Right.
I think it could be really, really engaging. And I'm excited to try it.
Yeah. And that all goes to say, like, Star Wars Rebellion that we were talking about, there's cards that you get that'll have, like, book or movie moments that pop up that change the gameplay a little bit. I guess my question to you would be, would I ever get to play as the forces of good?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't mind being evil?
No.
Oh, okay, great. Because that was my biggest fear, is I'm always going to have to be the bad guy.
No. I think that's one where I would want to experience that game on both sides.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to do that. I mean, that's a great one that we could utilize our table for and set it up under there and play a couple turns a night and then put the tabletop back on.
Yes.
Okay, so last but not least then, our number 1 board game blind spot, which is number 6 on let's start that over. Number 6 on Board Game Geek is Dune Imperium. I love Dune.
Yeah.
I read all of the original books. I love the movies. I think that they are, well, I don't love all the movies. I don't love the one they did forever ago. The new ones are great, though. Dune Imperium, I have heard nothing but great things about.
Yeah.
Lots of people that I trust with their board game opinions have said that Dune Imperium is a fantastic game. Okay. It's got deck building. It's got, you know, stuff like I like negotiation and all of that, and, you know, resource management. Looks super cool. But we have a Dune game.
We do. How does it compare to the Dune game that we have?
It seems like this one is a very different experience. I mean, this one you have a max of, it's either 4 or 5 players, but it's also a less, I'm trying to think of what the word is for it. But like the Dune that we have played is one that it's basically kind of a war game. And this one is more of, you know, a tactical resource management and strategy game.
Okay, yeah, that could be interesting.
And it looks super cool. I would say the thing for this one is now they have Dune Imperium Uprising.
Okay.
which is basically a new box. They've refined some stuff. They've listened to criticisms and polished it up a little bit.
Sure.
And so that is the recommendation for people that are new to Dune Imperium.
Is to play the newer one.
Yeah, to play Uprising. And so I think that's probably the one that I would pick up.
Yeah, knowing that, I mean, even though the classic Dune Imperium is rated so high, we would probably end up not getting that one.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, it's not that I don't want to play it. I absolutely do. In fact, just about all of these that we are missing, I would love to play at least once.
I mean, as we've said, we love board games, and there's not a game on this list that I would not play.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's great.
At least once.
But like we said at the top of the video, we want to hear from you guys. What blind spots are ones that we absolutely need to remedy, and soon?
What did we get wrong?
And what are some of your favorite games? And then, more importantly, what are some of your big board game blind spots?
Yeah.
Have you played a lot of the Board Game Geek Top 100? And if you've liked this list and you've enjoyed hearing us talk about the games that we have not played, let us know, because we're thinking about maybe doing a longer list where we go through the full top 100 and do kind of a smash or pass, as it were.
Yeah. But anyways, thanks for going through this list with us.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to hear more from us, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'd love to have you around.
Thanks so much. I'm Adam.
I'm Kara.
Thanks for stopping by.